Hey everybody, Luke McElroy from Mets Performance Consulting here. I'm here today with Tyler Phillips. So Tyler was the first ever Mets sponsored athlete that we had right back in the day when nobody knew who we were. So we're here today because we're going to do a little bit of an experiment. So Tyler's got the Melbourne Marathon coming up in 12 weeks?
12 weeks, yep.
12 weeks, so 3 months or close enough to. And we're going to do a couple of Vo2 Max tests. So we're going to do them every 4 or 6 weeks just to monitor his progress and make sure that we can get some really smart training done so we can hopefully get to his goal, which we're looking around that 240 mark, 245, all right? So Tyler, what's your PB so far? Official race?
304, I think officially a few years ago.
Yep, and you're saying before in Kona training, so Tyler's triathlete runner, he's been to Kona once or twice? Once?
Yep.
And in training you did a 43k run, did you say?
Yeah, I went through a marathon in about 255 training 18 months ago, just prior to Kona, so.
Pushing hard for that session?
Yeah, it was a long day, long Sunday after a big Saturday, so pushing hard for the last half hour, but sort of pretty comfortable up to there.
Yeah, cool. So we're looking at around about a 15-minute improvement. It should be a pretty good course for it, hopefully a good day. What are you currently doing training-wise at the moment? So it's like a typical day to the week sort of thing.
After being lazy for a fair while, I've probably been running consistently for maybe 8 weeks now, but not a lot, 2 to 3 runs at the most, and for most of that about 30 k's in a week. The last couple of weeks I've done a 40 and a 1 week I've hit 60, so I've just been trying to get some base in for this 12-week block, so I've got something to build on. Yeah. So I met up with Tyler last week it was, and he sort of ran the idea around me, said, hey, got this marathon coming up, don't really want to commit to six running days a week doing double days. What do you think about doing a bit of a video documentary? We get some testing done, and then we follow Tyler's progress as we go, and I'll probably do a monthly recap where I'll just connect my training peaks up to yours or create you an account there, so just so I can analyse the data and keep everyone in the loop. But yeah, the idea is that we're going to train smarter, not harder, get his zones locked in and do training so get maximum benefit out of his training in the minimum time, so we don't have to do double days and don't have to do 6 days a week, but we can still get that goal of 240. So stay tuned, we'll get some vision of the testing done and we'll keep you up to date with how it's all going. 5, 3, 2, 1, sides, finger. Back on. Seconds at a time. Here we go. 3:0 something. 3:14, 3:09. As soon as you grab the sides, game over, mate. Just go for as long as you can go here. Lactate 7.9. It's not too bad. It's good. It's high, but it's not exponential. 3 seconds to round out the minute, then up to you, mate. Your call. 1 minute down. Come on, up to you. As soon as you grab the sides. Take it 2 seconds at a time. 2, 3, 4, 5. Whatever it is. On you, mate, it's on you. As soon as you grab the sides, I'll press stop. Round this one out here, come on, round it out. Give me one last 15, come on, one last 15, let's go. That's the way, you got it. Good, 10 seconds, get the arm pump, here we go. 5 seconds, mate. Your goal here, 3, 2, 1. Just look at that finger. Alright guys, so Tyler's just finished his Vo2 Max test and this is the data that we've got. So he did pretty well, he's lasted 22.5 minutes. We did a 3-minute ramp, so we started off at 12 k's an hour, which is 5-minute K pace, and every 3 minutes we ramped it up by 1k. Alright, so we finished off the test at 19 k's an hour, which is 3:08 pace, and we lasted there for halfway through the stage, so 1:30, which is pretty solid. Couple of Vo2 Max values we've got, so 151 litres of ventilation, that's how much air he's breathing in, that's pretty good for his size, not the biggest guy going around. 63 breaths a minute, which is about standard, anywhere from about 55 to 65 is about right there, so he's got good breathing rate. Heart rate peaked at 185, which is pretty high for him.
Fraction of expired, so how much oxygen is using, 16.93. I reckon we can get that up a little bit with some training. We'll talk about that in a sec. VO2 max is 67.2, which is fantastic. And as I said, 19 k's an hour. So we'll just go through a bit of these, bit of the values and have a look at what we can do. So first off, we've got his lactate graph here. So resting lactate was a fraction high, 2.7, normally looking for about 1 to 2. And then you'll see 2.1, 2, 2, 2, 3. All right, now they're very low, but resting lactate is 1 to 2. And generally your endurance zone stuff, so your long, slow, continuous volume work should be done at 2 and under. So when we don't have any accumulation of lactic acid. Now this could be past training, which has caused it to be a little bit elevated, but what we can do is we can increase his top end and his aerobic power to then delay the point at which he needs to produce this. So I'll talk about that in a sec. We hit threshold at 16 k's an hour, so 3:45 pace, and the threshold's how hard you can go for 45 to 60 minutes. And after that, we see quite a rapid accumulation of lactate and fatigue there. Okay, so the general or the average lactate inflection point or lactate threshold is at 4 millimoles. So we hit it at 3.3, so a little bit under what we would want. So the goal over the next 12 weeks will be to push that closer to 4, 4.5, maybe even 5, hitting his threshold there. So what he can do is, even if his VO2 max doesn't improve, he can actually tolerate more lactic acid and more fatigue, so he can actually run faster and maybe run at 17 k's an hour and be able to use more of his engine there. So that's something that we're definitely going to look at. Fraction of expired oxygen. This is basically how efficient his muscles are at extracting oxygen from the bloodstream. 15, anywhere hitting the 15 mark is excellent. So the elites are around 14. They're obviously very, very efficient at extracting oxygen. It goes up and down because we have to get off the treadmill every 3 minutes to take a blood lactate sample, so that's why it's a bit up and down, which is completely normal. And you see we peaked sort of up around this 16.95 mark. A lot of guys will often get up to 17.5, which means they're not using that much oxygen because they're breathing a lot of it out, but they can sort of push themselves right into that red zone and last longer in the test because they can tolerate their lactic acid for longer. And as I said, they don't hit threshold at 3.3, they hit it at 4 or 5, and their peak might be closer to 15 to even, I've seen up to sort of 25 mils of lactate as well. So all signs so far are saying, all right, fraction of expired, pretty good aerobic engine. We'll still touch on this a bit. We don't want to peak too early. We've still got 12 weeks. So we're going to do sort of 5 weeks of your long, slow stuff as well as your VO2 max intervals. So if I jump over to his zones here, we're going to spend quite a lot of time doing his long runs just between a 143, 157 heart rate because that's when his lactate was really low. And we're also going to spend time at 95% VO2 max, which is 318 pace from memory. I think I wrote it down here somewhere. 318 pace or quicker. So he's going to be going, start at 318 doing say 1k repeats with the 1-to-1 work to rest. So if it takes him 318, he gets that much rest as well because we want to clear out that lactic acid and really optimize time at VO2 max without getting too much anaerobic contribution from that too. So I spend a lot of time there as well. We'll do that for sort of 1 to 5 weeks. And then moving into the last 5-6 weeks before the race, we're going to spend a lot of time at threshold because that's race specific. That's what he'll be spending most of his time at during the race. So we're looking at doing longer repeats, 10, 15, 20 minute, even 30 minute repeats, holding closer to the top end threshold, 169 for example, and also doing some tempo runs at the lower end, which is more race specific and what he'll be doing on the day. We'll still do some endurance zone stuff because you can't always just go hard for every session. That would be counterproductive, but that's sort of the plan. So we want to just boost that VO2 max just slightly, just get a little bit more base before we then shift over to that threshold and really try to get this lactate inflection point, this anaerobic threshold from that 3.3, push that up to sort of 4 to 5 so we can tolerate more, which is going to be more race specific. So we can then hold, instead of holding 3.45 pace, we can hold 3.32 pace and still be tolerating that lactic acid. And then I think we only need to hold about 3:45, 3:50 for the marathon to hit his target. So it might even be more than that. So 3:50, 3:55. So definitely can do it. We'll keep you up to date with how the training's going and do another test shortly. Thanks, guys.